Today, we are going to cover integer exponents. It can be a positive or negative integers, and you can go over the rules of exponents for multiplication, division, power of a product, power of a quotient, and negative exponents, and negative zero. I mean, zero is a power, and you have to go through all the rules. So I'm not going to write down the rules. You can look at the rules in the handout. So I'm going to start from problem number 1. Simplify, write the final answer using only positive exponents. So let's take negative 3 square, which is going to be, we are going to multiply negative 3 twice. So we get positive 9. Okay. Number 2, I have negative and there is no bracket here. So that means you put the negative and then you have to multiply 2 twice. So the answer is going to be just negative 4. So the difference, you have to see the difference between the first and the second problem. There is no parentheses in problem number 2. So now let's do 3. So since we have bracket here, that means you have to include the negative sign for both times. So the answer is going to be positive 4. And number 4, I have negative 1/3 to the power 4. So I have to remember, if you have bracket and if the power is even, the answer is always going to be positive. So I can write this. This is basically what this means is negative 1. Let's apply the rule here. So what happens is we can put the power for both numerator and the denominator separate. So negative 1, since it's even power, it's going to be positive. 3 to the power 4 is 81. So the answer is 1/81. And then negative 4 square over 9. So you keep the negative. 4 square is 16/9. Now I have negative 3 to the power negative 3. So what we are going to do here is you keep the negative, and this is going to be 3 to the power negative 3. You keep the negative. When you have the negative power, you have to flip it. So it goes to the denominator. So the answer is going to be negative 1/27. Next, number 7, I have 5xy to the power 3. So if you look at the power rule and with brackets, this means the power is for each variable and the constant here. And the 5 cube is 125, and x to the third, y to the third. And the next one is x to the negative 4 over x to the power 6. So what we can do is we can solve this problem in 2 different ways, but it's better we convert the negative to positive power by flipping, by bringing it to the denominator. And then now apply the product rule, the multiplication rule. You have to add the power. So it's going to be 4 plus 6. So it's going to be 1/x to the power 10. Okay. Next, number 9, we have x over y to the power negative 7. So first we have to distribute the power to each one of them. And since it is negative, you have to flip. The denominator comes to the numerator and the numerator goes to the denominator. And number 10, we have x to the power 3, x to the power negative 7, x to the power 4. Since it's by multiplication rule, we have to add the power. So let's add the power. So we get x to the power 7 minus 7, which is going to be 0. Anything to the power 0 is going to be 1. So the answer is 1. And number 11, we have 3, 4, 5, 6, x to the power negative 78 to the power 0. So anything to the power 0 is 1. It doesn't matter what the power is. Here it's 178, but when you multiply by 0, it's going to be 0. And when you have the power raised to the power, you have to multiply these numbers. So negative 6 times negative 2 becomes positive 12. And number 13, we have negative and positive powers mixed here. So what I would do is first flip all the negative powers, make the negative powers to positive by flipping the numbers. So it's going to be the negative 4 comes to the numerator, negative 5 comes to the denominator, but 3 is positive, so it doesn't go. You have to keep it there. And all the negative, you flip it, and the positive, you just keep it wherever they are. Okay, so what happens now? So this is going to be, so this equals, so it's going to be, you have to subtract the powers because we are dividing. So 5 minus 2, 3 minus 6. So it's going to be 2 to the negative 4, x to the third, y to the negative third. But you can flip it. So it's going to be x to the, only x stays in the denominator, everything goes to the numerator. And you can simplify the answer as, you can write this one as 16. So I can change this one to 16. So this is our answer. And number 14, we have 12x to the negative 3, y to the negative 2, z to the negative 4. And the whole thing to the power negative 3. So we are going to simplify. So whenever you don't have the power, make the power as 1. And then 3 goes into 12 4 times. So I'm going to cross this one. So I have 4 x to the negative 3. And these two cancels out because they have the same power. So we can cancel that one out. Over x to the power 1, z to the power, sorry, this is positive 4. This is negative. Okay, now we have to distribute the power to each one of them. Okay, so now what we are going to do for cube, for the negative third, let's first, let me write it down here. 4 to the negative third, x to the power multiply, so I get x to the power 9, and z to the negative 12 over x to the negative 3 and z to the power positive 12. So what we are going to do now, we are going to change all the positive, negative powers to positive powers. So x is positive, so x is going to stay in the numerator. So it's going to be x to the power 9. And z is going to go down and 4 is going to go down here. And this x is going to come to the numerator. So it's going to be z to the 12 times z to the 12. Now use the multiplication property. So it's going to be x to the power 12 over 4 cube is 64. And you have to add this one z as well. because they have positive powers, so both are going to be positive. The last problem, number 15. 5x to the negative 1 times y. So when you're multiplying, multiply the numbers by numbers and the variables by, group the like terms. So I'm going to write it down, 3 times 5, and then x to the 5 times x to the negative 1, then y to the negative 6, and when we don't have the power, make sure we put the power 1. So now negative 3 times 5 is negative 15. So we have to add the power when you're multiplying. So we get negative 15 times x to the 4, y to the negative 5. But the question is we cannot keep the negative exponent. So we're going to bring the y to the denominator so the power becomes positive. So that's the end of this section.